Hey, Shalom, Akim Shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. Noise in his gospel, bro, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is a lesson through the spirit. I was watching the elder brother D-Maj video and the elder brother Nazakia, not Azakia, Salakia, if I got your name. I always had an issue pronouncing a brother's name. But it happens because, brothers, they have the tongue twisted names. But the beloved brother from Chicago, Nazakia, brought out a lesson. And the elder brother D-Maj responded to it, titled Something on My Mind About Camp Order. And very important videos. Both of them is a must watch. But the brother made a good comment in the video, and this has been on my spirit for some time. And I mention in the videos from time to time because when you're around for some time, you kind of see things and you feel things through the spirit. And it's that spirit of being overly familiar with people. And the brother made a comment. He said, you get overly familiar with people, and then you begin to lose respect for them because you've seen flaws, or you've seen them on the time when they was down or up, or you've gotten too accustomed to the brother's habits, or his routine, to the point you look at him as just a regular mere mortal, which we're all in the flesh, and we're all in a low state. But you can be a man of a lower ranking file, and this can be an elder brother or a brother above you, or sometimes it could just, be a brother that's on the same level. It don't necessarily have to be an elder because, ultimately, we're not really big and keen on these magnificent titles, but, you have order for a reason. You have order, you have elders, you have apostles, you have teachers, you have particular ranking systems for a particular reason. And the Lord puts each man in his position for a reason, whether you realize it or not. Or if that man don't realize it, or even if he does realize it or not. Every brother is put in their particular ranking order for a reason. And sometimes you may have situations in the camp that the Most High may put the spirit on you to move order around because things are not being fulfilled in their proper order, so to speak, because, we go through things and sometimes we don't always dedicate our minds or our particular focus to the ministry. So you have to go with the possible fit that can navigate that road, and somebody that's going to be dedicated and contented upon the Lord without distraction, man. And sometimes that may come down as an issue because you may look at it, well, I've been in the truth longer than his brother. How did he get in a position over me? Well, if you in that type of mindset, then you ain't in the right spirit, because it ain't about how long you've been in this truth. And I think that's a stumbling block for a lot of older men coming in on the younger men, which that has been a constant issue in this thing of ours. When you got a guy that's damn near touching 50, and yet the camp leader may be like 32 years old, in his mindset, he's trying to size up the leader with real life experiences. Like, dude, nobody gives a fuck about your real life experience. Yeah, you may be able to tell me some things about how to deal with women, or you may be able to tell me some things about how to ride a fucking fishing pole or something like that. But overall, it's about your maturity and the growth in spirit. Because you got immature old men in this thing, man. 50, 60 years old, still acting like they're 12 years old. All right. But anyway, going back to the point, you get too familiar with a man and you start respecting him as your elder or your head. You don't look at him as an elder. You don't look at him as, well, he's deserving of a leader of a camp title because I've been around this camp and I see the way he do things, but he do things different. But seems to be working for this. But why isn't he implementing this strategy over here so it can work for us? Well, everything that worked for everybody don't work for everybody, if that makes sense. And this is another reason why younger men shouldn't be traveling like that. Okay, and it's just my motto, most brothers, for my camp in particular, I'm just using my camp as an example. Most brothers in this camp are not from this city, so they still have family in other states, which, granted, brothers want to go see their families and, spend time with their loved ones. And, we're not really against it because we understand, we are not from this particular city or demographic. So, brothers from this camp sometimes go to other states and see other brothers, and we make an effort to make sure they're getting up with the other brothers in the other states and, just edifying. But it's not to take those particular points. I mean, of course, you can always take things you learn and, you can always see how to utilize it in your growth in your walk. But overall, you can't see how a brother do something in California and attribute it to Chicago. That may not work for Chicago. And then you start despising the head of the camp because in his mindset, you're sizing this elder up against that elder when reality of it is you're just sizing yourself up against that person. And that's not the spirit to be in. And that can cause contempt. Okay, so I looked it up. It says familiarity breeds contempt. From the AI overview, it says familiarity breeds contempt as an idiom that suggests that knowing someone or something very well can lead to a loss of respect. Right. Let's just say if you snoring, I'm using little minute examples. Let's say, brother lived with you with some shit for a couple of weeks and you may have left some fucking boxes on the floor and you have a habit of leaving or you have a habit of not flushing the toilet, which, I mean, you should flush the toilet, but if you have a habit of not flushing the toilet every morning you wake up to take a piss and a brother sees that, that doesn't give him the right to derank you or to put him equal in your mind or in his mind. Oh, that brother don't flush the toilet in the morning when he pissed. Oh, this brother ain't really going into this. He ain't going into that. Why that elder is able to go in on that, but he ain't going in on this. It's like you cause unnecessary drama and contention among camp members and among yourselves and among ranking files when none of that shit is necessary, man. Okay, if it's working for you and you're being edified, you're being fed in the spirit, and you're growing at the pace that the Lord allows you to grow, then be fucking happy with that, man. See, Jake is like women. They want their cake and they want to eat it too. I've been in this thing 8 years. He's been in 6 years. How come he's more fluid in the Hebrew than I am? Well, nigga, that's your problem. Okay, don't blame the head of the camp. That's your problem. You apply yourself and you figure this shit out, man. Because like the apostle said, we're not in this thing to hold nobody's hand. And me personally, I'm not holding nobody's fucking hand. All right, brothers been around me. They know how I operate. Look, we gonna get down to business. You see what I do. Follow the lead. If you can't follow that lead and you can't build up, then that ain't my fucking problem. That's your problem. You deal with it. And that's just how it is. I'm not babysitting or walking you hand step on how to pronounce that word. If you want to learn Hebrew or whatever, open your mouth and say something. And if not, then fucking learn it on your own. Okay, we don't babysit out here. We do what we got to do and we keep it pushing. And brothers know how we operate, man. All right. And it says here, appreciation or even a disdainful attitude. It says the saying implies that once you've seen all the flaws and the weakness of someone or something, you may stop appreciating them as much as you did when you didn't know them as well. And this is why we tell you older brothers, don't be getting too familiar, or the younger men, don't be getting too familiar with older brothers, man. Okay, it's not a thing because they don't like you or anything like that, but it's about keeping some type of peace and some type of order and serenity among what you're about. Because if you got the young man that's out of order, that could derail a whole conflict, man. I mean, that could derail a whole goddamn train. Like they say, you're only as strong as your weakest link. You may see a guy that may, you can have a particular issue in the body where you may have problems with women and you got a younger man over there and he's seeing you thug it out with your woman and fight with her and all that other craziness. And he's seeing you upset and in a broken, contrite spirit over that. He can lose respect for you because he can say, you've been in this thing 10 years and yet you still are arguing with women, and he can look at you as being weak. And then in his mindset, he's like, well, you know what? I ain't got to respect you because you don't even know how to deal with this and that, not knowing the ins and outs of your situation. So it's very, very, you got to be very careful in here. It says, meaning the phrase means close familiarity, particular over a long period can cause a decrease in value or respect one places or something. And then you just got some jakes that just looking for shit wrong. You got some men that can never be satisfied, man. Well, I've seen them do this, I've seen them do that, or they have a laundry list of a notepad in their back pocket, taking notes on you every time that you done said something or rebuked, or, every time you done got in their ass, or, something went off where you just was in a bad spirit one day and, whatever, they'll hold that shit in their back pocket. And then when it comes time to put you on blast, they'll start bringing out all these alleged offenses that you've done to them when they never said none in the first place. It says here, Why it happens, several factors. It could be boredom. Overexposure to the same things can lead to boredom and a lack of interest. Well, why you only going in on that? Why you only doing that? Why you only saying that? Meaning comparing shit, right? That's off. Taking things for granted. When something is readily available, we may stop appreciating its value, right? Seeing flaws. As we get to know someone well, we often notice their imperfections and weakness and can lead to negative attitude. And that's what happens. Women do it all the time. A woman get too familiar with you, she starts to lose respect. Oh, you a prophet of the Lord, but nigga, you got a hole in your boxes. What the fuck? It's just little dumb shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, you got to be very mindful on certain things that we do in the spirit and to not take the body for granted. All right, so let me get get a preset real quick. I got a couple of them on deck. Where we at? Let's go to Deuteronomy. Or because you don't bring it out like one person, he's looking at you like, well, you're not worthy to be an elder because you're not bringing it out like this elder do. Just stupid, dumb shit. This is why we tell brothers all the time, like, until you ran the camp, don't judge it. All right, because in order to run the camp, it takes a lot of mental. You got to have a lot of mental precision to deal with other different attitudes and just respective persons. And, you see through shit. As a camp leader, you should be able to have discernment. You should be able to see through things and know shit, even if you don't speak on it. Like I can sit in a room and I can be in the room maybe 15, 20 minutes and read the room. I already have an assessment on what I need to have. I don't have to say shit. I just know like, yeah, this dude ain't right. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that my assessment will be 100%. But in some cases, you see trends. You see moves being made, and you can see mindsets, and you start to home in on them, and you start to compare like, oh, wait a minute, I've seen that before. I've seen this before. I've seen that. So you can kind of know in the spirit like, yeah, Jake full of shit. And we all be bullshitting sometime, man. We all try to get by a little bullshit and this and that. But, you got to tighten up, man. Not being so laxed. This is the book of Deuteronomy 1, and I'm going to start at verse 17. It says, ye should not respect persons in judgment. Okay, this is going back to what the elder D-Mash was going into about having a friend buddy relationship in this thing. Because you have a relationship with this guy, now, even though he's in danger of judgment, you seem to justify him. But this other man, you're constantly rebuking his ass, man. One thing among us, we going to rebuke each other. We going to tell each other what we need to tell each other, man. We're going to do it in the most respectful way. But, at times shit come out rough. Get your shit together. Get your shit together. Get your mind right. We've had several councils among this thing, and they not always pretty. Some men end up getting put out or suspended because, they may not agree with it, but, it is what it is. But it says you should not respect persons in judgment, but ye should hear the small as well as the great. Be ye not afraid of the face of men, for the judgment is the Most High's. And the cause that is too hard for you, bring it to me and I will hear it. Okay, but the point is you should not respect persons in judgment. Okay, to the point, it is what it is. All that buddy shit and trying to be nice and be like, look, man, I tell my men all the time, the men that's under me in the camp, I tell them all the time, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And it ain't nothing personal. This is just speaking as men. When we come together, we speak as men, and I've said it. They'll tell you. I'm like, I don't give a fuck if any one of you like me. I don't care. I'm like, we can do what you got to do, or you can fucking leave. I tell them that shit all the time. You know what I'm saying? They want to leave, then they can leave. Get the fuck out. I don't give a shit, because that's just what it is. It's not about, oh, you liking me. It's not about that. The Lord may put you with somebody that you may don't like, or that you may can't seem to be on one accord with as far as on a fleshy level, but on a spiritual level, you're like, you know what? That man's on point. He's doing what he got to do. This shit running smoothly. Shit, I can't have a problem with that. And then certain men you're just not going to understand completely. And certain men you're just not going to gravitate to. Certain men you may see flaws in and be like, this guy is a little extra, a little too much. But even then, the Lord got him in that position. It's just like, okay, well, obviously the Lord sees favor in this man. So maybe I'm tripping. Or maybe the Lord ain't caught up with it yet. I don't know. Yeah, you're going to have those situations. Even among elder brothers, you're going to have situations that, shit seems to be extra. Like, what is this guy doing? And you may not understand it because you may be from the outside looking in. So everything ain't what it seems because he seems a little kooky or a little kind of strange and all up and all over the place, high energy type shit, doesn't give you a reason to not like that man. You know, because personally, for what? He ain't done shit to you. But it says, you should not respect persons in judgment, but you should hear the small as well as the great. You should not be afraid of the face of men, for the judgment is of Yahweh's, and the cause that is too hard for you, bringing it to me, and I will hear it. Okay? All right, so let's go here to Wisdom of Solomon. Matter of fact, nope, let's go here, 1 Peter 2 and 18, because this is a big one as well. Getting too familiar with a man, you lose respect for him. I remember when you cried because your dog died, nigga. I don't respect you no more. Okay, big deal. Don't respect me. I don't care. All right. 1 Peter 2 and 17, it says, honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear Yahweh, honor the king. But servants, be subjecting to your masters. And this was a big stumbling block years ago. And you know what? We was bringing out that whole thing of masters, and we got a group of undesirable niggas up out of this thing because they couldn't deal with the fact that men was over them. And it's just a play on words like masters or leaders or elders, whatever, right? But the fact, because it says masters, you had the men that revealed themselves. Ain't nobody no master over me. Like, nigga, everybody, you gonna be an underling to somebody, bro. Okay, I don't give a damn if you do martial arts. You're gonna have to come up under somebody. Okay, that's just how it is. Hell, when Moses was trying to figure out how to get Israel in order, what was his name? Was it Jethro, if I'm not mistaken? I believe it was his father-in-law, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Zipporah's father? But basically, he told him, and let me double check. Let me look that up. Let me double check that. Make sure my facts are right. Zipporah, father in the Bible, Moses' wife. Zipporah, father. Yup, Jethro, bingo. The daughter of Jethro, the priest, prince of the Median. Right. He basically told Moses, like, look, he said, look, you're going to have to set up captains of this, leaders of every tribe, put them in this order, and then you set up leaders and you judge the major matters, but the smaller matters, let them guys get involved with that take some slack off your hands type shit. You know what I'm saying? That way you don't be overwhelmed. So like things that go on in our camps, everything you don't have to go to the top. If you got a man that's bugging out and he don't want to do shit, you know, as a leader of a camp, you can suspend him, you know, and you may run it through the regional head. Like, look, I suspended this guy. He was doing this and this and that, and bam, it ain't got to go up. I mean, it'll go up to the top, you know, because they'll want to know, well, why you suspend him, you know. But overall, you can do it. You got the power to kick somebody at the camp. If they not right, you get rid of his ass. And you like, look, I kicked this guy out. And then you have the list. Like, look, he was doing this. He went on this. He was this. We had this counsel. He didn't take correction. We gave him suspended and a warning. And then, you know, he bucked up against it. So we kicked him out. And there you go. Case closed, right? But it says here, servants, be subjected to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the forward. Okay, you got forward men that's pretty rough around the edges that speak their mind. Like me personally, I'm a forward brother. You know what I'm saying? I speak what I need to speak when I have to speak it. You know, I'm been working on a balance of being both in between gentle and forward, but at the same time, Jake don't respect being gentle. They don't respect that shit. And me personally, the way I was brought up, that ain't how we operated in my household. You know, it wasn't none of that gentle shit. They didn't believe in restoring one with such meekness. You know, we didn't learn that into the truth. But overall, I'm a pretty forward brother, you know, not to the point that is going to break a brother's spirit, but I tell a man what he needs to hear. You know, I'm like, you need to man your ass up. You need to man the fuck up. You need to get your shit together. You know, what's this, what's that? You know, I'm straightforward. And brothers, they don't take no offense to it because they understand the sincerity that comes with it. It's a form of careness, man. You know, a form of being concerned with the mindset of what's going on in the body. Because if you have to make the job I got to do harder, then I'm going to make your fucking job harder. It's just that simple. You got what I got to do, if it's going to come down on me, then it's going to come down on you. Because that's not, you know, we're supposed to be in one accord. But it says, for this is thankworthy if a man for conscience towards Yahweh and do a grief suffering wrongfully. And you're going to have them cases that men feel like they suffer wrongfully for it, right? Well, I shouldn't have been cut out because, you know, I was, you know, Jay got a plethora of excuses, but he ain't going to tell you the bullshit he was doing, you know. Anyway, let's get another precept. Proverbs 25:6 is a good one. Because like I said, with younger men, you don't want to be too familiar with the heads of the camp, man. Like, I mean, sometimes you go out, especially if you got smaller camps, brothers may kind of all link up and go out and, be on some folly, righteous folly. I'll put it to you that way. But overall, man, you dealing with a younger brother and an elder brother, and the younger brother, y'all out chasing tail or whatever y'all do. You shouldn't look down on a younger man or the older man because things ain't going according to how you perceive it to be. You got to be outside like me. Nah, bro, that ain't how this work. But granted, you have a smaller camp. Brothers will be a little bit more familiar with each other because, I mean, shit, there's only like 5 or 6 or 7 of y'all. But even with that, there's supposed to be some type of distance and respect. Like every weekend, I'm not going out with the youngest brother in the camp. You know what I'm saying? And we hang out every once in a while. We out as a group. Maybe 3 or 4 brothers would go out, have a drink and shit. We'd be on our folly. But other than that, overall, it's not like a every weekend thing. Hey, brother, you gonna come? Let's go chase some hoes. No, we don't be on that shit, man. Most part, brothers move in their own time and they move in their own lane. And, every brother got their situation that they deal with and they make it work for them, which is fine by me, But this is the book of Proverbs 25, and I'm going to start at 6. It says, put not forth thyself in the presence of the king, and stand not in the place of great men. Right. Okay. Because you got young men that come into this thing. They learn a couple of precepts, and we had one individual that was good for doing that, like a guy by the name of Nazariah. And the crazy part about it is everybody loved Nazariah. He was brother, he knew the scriptures. But at the time, I didn't realize he was still a young man. Going back, I think I met Nazariah in 2011 when I came in, and I assume he has been in maybe a year and some change prior to me coming in. So he may have like a year or so and a half on me, maybe 2009. I don't know when he came in. I think he came in like in 2009, 2010. But regardless of that, when you speak to this brother and you see him, you would think this man was like the elder of the camp. I mean, let me see, 12, 13, 14, maybe 4 or 5 years in. I mean, they come to camp late. Hell, we was doing maybe like 7 fucking hour counts. We'll go out there at 2 o'clock and don't be done till like 7 or 8. So, we'll be out there and the elders won't get out there till like, I think, what time? That's when Mayaka Allah was the camp leader of Chicago at that time. And I think he used to be out there a little earlier. But then by 5 o'clock when Nazariah and them shows up, then all of a sudden, they're speaking the remainder of the camp. And I'm like, wait a minute, like these dudes ain't even elders. But everybody liked the Nazariah, everybody was cool with him because he came off as being brotherly. But overall, he had his own agenda going. They used to call that shit the Nazariah show, man, because he'd come in and speak over elders. And I'm like, back in my mind, I'm like, why ain't nobody correcting this shit? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, you got Elder Yak, you got Elder Uriah, you got this Mike Allah dude, Elder Malcolm. He was around, but I remember they was kind of, we was kind of branched off in different parts of the city. When Elder Malcolm, when I started kind of getting just a little bit, I started to know him a little bit. I had ended up moving to Kansas City, like around like early 2012 or some shit like that. So I wasn't really around them too long. Then the Lord moved me out here, and then, the Lord just allowed me to build up what we built up here. But overall, that dude used to go out there and he'll speak for hours, man. I'm like, what the fuck? Putting himself in place of great men. Apostle Akar would come in town, he's sitting among them, engaging in conversation and shit. And me personally, when elders are around of that caliber, I don't really say shit. Like, I ain't got to say nothing, Spirit gonna speak. I'm not gonna be like, hey, yeah, get to know me. Oh, what's going on, brother? Fuck all that, man. I don't need all that shit. I don't have to be all that. If the Spirit wants you to speak, then the Spirit will have you to speak. But when Elder Uriah and them, which I grew up under them brothers, man, respectfully. But, when Yakia and Elder Uriah, and them brothers are out there doing their thing, and, we all in the classroom, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I don't really say too much. I don't need to. It ain't about me. But it says here, put not forth thyself in the presence of the king, and stand not in the place of a great man. So, like the brother Nadazakia said, the elder brother said, hey, some Jakes just need to just be quiet, man. You know, yeah, you may know precepts and you may know this and that, but go do a lesson. Put it in a sit down. Get your point across that way. You know, at the camp, you know, back in the day, newer brothers didn't speak coming into the camp. You had to hold the sign. You had to hold posts. You had to be on camera duty. Before we got all these smartphones and shit, we actually had camera. You had to man the camera. You had to hold, you know, you had to hold signs, hold posts, bring out precepts. And, you know, through the spirit, we grow. We're going to have to get back into that because everybody ain't going to be out there just speaking. You know what I'm saying? You bring out a precept, you break it down. I mean, ideally, the older men call for the precepts and the younger men bring them out. And the older brothers, they break it down. You know what I'm saying? But we've got in a habit because, you know, times are changing. We got in a habit that, you know, brothers bring out precepts and they expound on it because, you know, you want men to grow as well. But we had times too that, you know, we were like, okay, well, this brother, he gonna speak to camp so he can get familiar with speaking. But at this point, mostly y'all brothers are pretty much built up in speaking, so brothers could kind of hold their own out there. You see, but even then, there's still an order and a ranking file in it because, you know, a lot of the younger brothers, you know, especially in our camp, you know, they bring out precepts and then a lot of times, you know, they'll just let us speak. And sometimes I'll be getting mad at them. I'm like, y'all better fucking say something, man. You know, but they're just being respectful, you know, they're just being in order because they understand the older men speak. And then sometimes I'll go out there and I'm like, man, I'll hold post. Y'all go out and y'all do y'all thing. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes shit, you just want other men to speak. Sometimes you want to sit back and play the back row, you know, which I'm not above that. Where we at? Sirach 8 and 8. It's a good one. Because one example of being too familiar was when you go to this story here in First Esdras. And I'm going to start at verses 28. It says, and now do you not believe me? Is not the king great in his power? And do not all regions fear to touch him? Because the king, man, that's like, you a king. You got the presence of king. That's high status, bro. You delegate, you make orders, and you have the ultimate power to cause for somebody's execution. You have the ultimate power on whether you go to war or not. So if you a king, man, you have a lot at your beck and call. You got subjects, you got men under you that's willing to ride and do what they need to do for you, man. Like King David, hey, Joab, hey, he was ready to, whatever David needed, he was with it. Hey, just give me the word. So kings come with great power. And it says here, yet did I see him in the payment of king concubine, the daughter of the admiral Bardicus, sitting at the right hand of the king. Why? Because she got too familiar with him. Same thing with women. When women get too familiar with you, and this is why we tell you brothers to keep some type of mystique about yourself, man. Like half the bitches I've ever dealt with don't even know my first name, and I prefer to keep it that way. One chick got so pissed off at me, she was like, I don't know if I could deal with you. I'm like, why not? She like, cause she said you just too mysterious. I said, well, I thought y'all like mysterious men. What's the problem, baby? She said, I don't know. I can't figure you out. Well, good. I'm not here for you to figure me out. She said, you move around like a ghost too much. I said, well, that's the point. My own mother got mad at me, man, because she couldn't get in contact with me. I'm like, well, I like being off the radar. I'm like, if it ain't in the Lord's will for you to find me, then you're not going to fucking find me. I don't want to be found. I just want to be left the fuck alone. Whoever want to find me or needs to find me, the Lord allow them to find me. Period. You know what I'm saying? And my mother got mad at me. She said, you had me calling the police and all this other shit. I said, it's been one day that you ain't hear from me and you bugging out. I'm like, I was just like, because I changed my number on everybody. I don't want nobody having my fucking number. You know what I'm saying? Leave me the fuck alone. I'm out here for a reason. You see? But anyway, it says here, and taking a crown off his head and setting it upon her own head, she also struck the king with her left hand. And yet for all this, the king gaped and gazed upon her with an open mouth. If she laughed upon him, he laughed also. If she took any displeasure at him, the king was slain to flatter that she may be reconciled to him again. Okay, even though this is giving you the example of women, but at the same time, she was so comfortable because she got too familiar with him. Okay, you should never be too comfortable around your elder men in the camp to the point you think you can say or do whatever the fuck you want to say. Be mindful of what you say around men. I don't give a damn if you've known them 15, 20 years. Certain shit you just don't do. Certain shit you just don't say. Certain behaviors you just don't display. You know, you come in a man's house, don't be putting your fucking feet on his table, man. What the fuck is wrong with you? You know, now, but brother, you know, like, and me personally, you know, brothers, come in the crib, they can they got access to whatever's in the house, whatever they need, drink, food, whatever, man. And brothers are respectful enough. Hey, brother, can I get such and such? They ask, but even I'm like, shit, let's go get that shit. But they ask because there's a certain respect. You know, I don't just go in brothers' cribs and just start going in the refrigerator and shit like that. And if I do, then Salakia. But if I do that, it's probably because it was already a green light to do that. But even then, you just never know how a man feel that day. You know, like me, I got a rule. When I come in the crib, my house, I take my own shoes off at the front door. So I expect everybody else to do that. And on top of that, because I don't want to clean this fucking carpet all the time. That's pretty much what it is. But still, you know, but it's about respect, order, mannerisms. Jake is bad on fucking manners, man. Has some manners, man. All right. Let's get another precept. I got a couple more, then I end it. It's kind of long-winded on this one. But this is how the spirit work. Ecclesiastes 8 and 8. Sirach 8 and 8. And it says here, despise not the discourse of the wise, but acquaint thyself with their proverbs, right? Just because it's coming from a man you don't seem to be in agreement with, or because it's something about him you don't like, or he's not on your carnal or your level of vibration as far as in the carnal, that don't mean that you look at that man like he's not wise, man. Okay, if a man that's been an elder 25 years and you got a man that's been an elder 12 years, yeah, you may, have more reverence for the guy that's been in longer, but at the same time, that don't make you not have reverence for the man that's 12 years, 12 years in this thing. Okay, if he's been in 25 years, he's been in 15 years, and you call him elder, you should call him elder too. Even though I don't speak on titles as much because it's not about that. But at the same time, this guy's ahead, but you look at him like an elder and you don't look at this guy like he's an elder, then obviously there's a problem somewhere. Either there's too much familiarity, or you don't like the guy, or you have an issue within yourself, or there's some unresolved conflict that need to be talked out, or you feel like his work ethic or his work status and what he produces in the spirit is not equated to what you perceive this man to be. You guys in these camps, you got to start looking at your own heads of these camps, man, as being leaders over you, man. Just because you've seen them in their weakest doesn't give you the right to not look at that man like he's not important. And I don't think a lot of young men understand that. And that's what the elder brother Natazaki was going into. Some guy, man, we started at the same time, man. You ain't no elder. Look, nigga, give a fuck what you think, man. The Lord set this man up for a reason. And that's not saying we throwing that title around loosely or elder. It's not about the title, but it's just about the notary in the spirit. But it says, but acquaint thyself with their proverbs, for of them thou shalt learn instruction, how to serve great men with ease. So, you're around, you take heed of these examples, you see how men work and operate in the spirit, and then, you follow suit. Because one day, you will be in a position to do certain things, man, and men come under you, and you will want the same endearment or the same treatment. You see, I have that motto, treat me how you want to be treated, or treat others how you would want to be treated. But it says, miss not the discourse of the elders, for they also learned of their fathers, and of them thou shalt learn understanding, and to give answer as need requireth. All right. And this is why, we get counsel. You watch the elders, the apostles, you watch their examples, and they'll break it down to you, man. And they'll tell you they've learned trial by error through experience, as we all. All right. Go to here, the book of Sirach 32. And 9, it says here, matter of fact, let's start at verses 7. It says, speak, young man, if there be a need of thee, and yet scarcely when thou art asked twice. Right. So let your words be few. You're a young man. Hey, you keep your words few. I shouldn't have to hear about what you did, this, and that. A lot of young men, they have, since they come with that experience in the world, whether they're older, you hear them speaking all the time. No, man, you could be 55 years old and been in the truth 5 years. I don't want to hear you talking all fucking night when we all getting together. You may have certain experiences on how to help brothers get ahead in certain things in life. But when it comes to spiritual talks, man, you don't really have too much of an input because you haven't been there. Hearing about what you did in the world. Nobody gives a fuck about that shit, man. Don't care about what you did in the world. Don't care about how many women you slept with. Don't care about how much money you used to have or what type of whips you had. We don't care about that. All right. But it says, let thy speech be short, comprehending much in a few words. And this is why a lot of guys get outed, man. You see like the rebels, the men that get kicked out and start their own thing. And before you know it, they go on a scoffing campaign against the men they was once a part of, man. You know, because they couldn't humble down. Couldn't nobody tell them shit. And no 30-year-old nigga gonna tell me a damn thing. I'm old enough to be that nigga's father. You ain't gonna tell me shit. Okay. Well, I can't tell you shit. Well, do your own thing. And that's not saying that us as young men don't have to grow either, because, you know, being a young leader, shit, you gonna make mistakes. You gonna see things that, you know, or you ain't gonna see things that other people gonna see. You may not see yourself all the time. In your spirit, you may mean well, but you might not see everything that you're doing. You may don't see it because you're moving too quick. Okay, there's always been instances of men, you know, making particular judgment calls and everybody don't be on board with it. I mean, that's just how it be, you know. But at the same time, man, you know, that's why you're supposed to have men around you that's willing to, you know, to show you something like, well, you know, this is looking this kind of way. Can you clarify that or this? Then everything don't need a fucking clarification. Some shit is just straightforward. I'm telling you, just do what the hell you told, man. It ain't got to be no reason. Just do what the fuck you told. All right? Ain't nobody's telling you out of a malicious spirit. Now, if you think that, then you don't have trust in a God, then that's on you. You know? But overall, it says here, let thy speech be short, comprehending much in a few words. Be as one that knoweth, yet one that holdeth his tongue. Yeah, you may know, but sometimes be quiet. Don't need to hear you, man. And it says here, if thou be among great men, make not thyself equal with them. And this is what a lot of them dudes did that's not around. You know, they met the apostles. And this is why I already said, going up to the top, meeting the elders and the apostles, I'm like, that was a stumbling block into certain dudes, man. Like me personally, I never wanted to go out there. I mean, I wouldn't mind, but me personally, I just never thought that was circumspect. Let me go out there and meet. You think you're going to sit back and talk about rap and fucking video games and drink and get drunk and get confidence around these men? Nah, bro, they see right through you. This ain't that type of party. Oh, man, I got the Apostle Wakai and we finna drink some young. We gonna kick it. Nigga, Apostle Wakai ain't finna go to the club and hop on some black bitch with you, bro. That's not going down like that. It's not going down. You know what I'm saying? So it's, no, bro. A lot of men thought that, and then where they at now? You know, you start getting some liquor in you or some shit. You know, you getting sauced up from the liquor, and now you got confidence. Now you feeling yourself. Now your nuts are dropping. Now you get to interject how you feel the great man. Well, you know, you try to show off and act like you just this deep ass dude, but like you ain't impressing nobody, bro. Like you ain't impressing nobody at all, my nigga. Like I'm not impressed with that shit. Like, you know, and I'm not saying me, but I'm saying like as the apostles, like they're not impressed with how much liquor you can bring down, bro, and how your chest walk out. Nobody's impressed with that shit. Nobody cares about that. Okay, you making yourself look like a jackass, man. But it says, if thou be among great men, make not thyself equal with them. And when ancient men are in place, use not many words. Okay, use not many words, meaning be quiet. Even when you're around your camp leaders, bro, you could be swinging a sword at these men for 12 years. At the end of the day, you still got to apply these scriptures. You know, still apply these scriptures, man. One more precept and I'll end it. Wisdom of Solomon 4, and I'm going to start at verses 8. It says here, for honorable age is not that which standeth in a length of time, nor that is measured by number of years, but wisdom is the gray hair unto men, and an unspotted life is old age, man, all right? Hey, shit, if you blessed, to which I would say living long here in this kingdom is a curse. Give a damn who you are. But in retrospect, you hear those old heads saying, man, I'm blessed to see 65, man. And they mindset they're blessed because they've escaped the hardships of this life, you know. But it says the honorable age is not that which standing in and lift the time. Yeah, just because you're a 50-year-old, you could be a 60-year-old nigga. You could be a 70-year-old nigga with gray hair. Hell, you still got 50, 60-year-old men that still believe in gangbanging, man, sagging their pants and shit. You know, that's not honorable, bro. Because it's not about your age. It's not about how old you are in the flesh, but how you mature in the spirit of growth, you know. But anyway, with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Lord's will, you will edify. To the next lesson. Shalom.